This chicky nug of French will not stand. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
You know, I think we need to make this episode a French episode. In that,
Ooh.
we're going to be talking about the tongue. Talking about the tongue.
Anything, listen, the French stuck their flag into the tongue many, many years ago. The tongue and the fry. And they cannot,
That's right.
That's what they own. And it can't be taken
It's pretty
from
rad.
them.
That's great that you literally like, hey, one method of kissing is ours. That's pretty cool.
And also it's like, it's the method.
It is the method.
Name another method of kissing. And like,
No,
and
you
even
can't.
if you could, would it beat French kissing?
American kissing is so boring.
American kissing is just where you're just ramming your tongue in there.
Yeah, when it's unwanted.
It's unwanted, and you're just trying to take out strategic targets within the other person's mouth.
Yeah. American kissing is a method of dislodging a tooth.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the tongue. Are you a tongue person?
Yeah, I've been known to have a tongue.
Yeah.
If that's what you're asking.
We like tongues. This is a really fascinating story about tongues. This is actually an article on Science Alert that was written by Mike Richardson, who is talking about his own research into this area. This was a story posted on our Discord by Dire Nair. Thank you for posting this, Dire Nair. This is our exclusive Discord for patrons. You only cost you $1 to be part of it, but it's awesome stories.
Great stuff.
Awesome conversation.
Just head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns to find out how to do that.
Yeah, that's the important part of the information. Thank you for including that. But Mike Richardson, this is a scientist who is doing a lot of research into the tongue. Specifically,
did this guy go out and create the position of kissing scientist? That's a good.
He's a French scientist.
Michel Richardson is what his name actually is.
Right.
But
Right.
no, this is such a good. I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's a grift, but here's what I am saying. When you decide that you want to be a kissing scientist who only studies kissing,
yeah,
I mean, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good grift.
It's pretty good.
You're like, you're there in grad school, and it's like, what are you going to write your, or you're going to be like, what are you going to write your thesis on? It's like smooching.
Full on tongue.
Smooching with full on tongue. We're going to have to set up a double blind group, if you know what I'm saying. I'm going to need 100 volunteers to
the laboratory
smooch.
of first base, if you know what I mean. And then, as you're researching, of course, you're across the table, you notice someone who's also into that research, and your eyes meet and you realize.
But not another scientist necessarily.
Could be, though.
It could be, but it's not necessarily another scientist. It could be, I mean, I don't understand the ethics of this. It can't be it's probably a little bit worse than dating a coworker, but what if your research leads you to find the best kisser in the world?
Whoa.
And it's not you.
Whoa. Not you.
No, it's one of the people from your group. They volunteered. Turns out they're empirically the best kisser in the world. Now what? Now you have that information. And you've kissed them before. Maybe there's something there. Do you go for it? They're the best kisser in the world.
How do you not act on that information?
It would be tough.
It's like,
and this is where the grift backfires, Jeff.
Yes.
This is where the con man finds out that he's gotten in too deep.
It's like stumbling upon a Michelin 3-star restaurant.
Oh, whoops.
And it was there in your basement the whole time. It was right there.
It was right there.
What are you going to do? You're going to leave the basement and go to McDonald's? No.
Absolutely
not. You're
not.
going to eat at that Michelin 3-star restaurant.
Absolutely
not.
Saying? You're going to ask them, like, if they're the reason why your gas bill has been so high. That's for sure.
It does explain all the foot traffic through your
A lot of foot traffic. A lot of people just from the basement. Your children thought your house was haunted because from the basement, they always heard somebody yelling, corners. Corners.
Yes, chef.
Hands.
Well, I don't want to go too far down this road because this isn't actually about smooching.
Ah.
Although, if anybody does have a good smooching story, please post it on
I got
the
a
Discord.
couple, but I don't know if they're appropriate.
No, not your smooching stories. I mean science stories. I don't want to hear your smooching stories. No, this is about the tongue as an input device, as a sensory organ.
Oh.
And it turns out, as you may be able to intuit, that the tongue is a pretty complex bit of communication. It communicates a lot of information to you. It's a sensitive organ that actually can be used in combination with other senses to provide more information than what we use it for. The idea here is that folks that might have sensory loss in other ways, vision loss, hearing loss, we use certain devices to accentuate other senses to make up for, you can think of Braille as a sense of touch in making up for loss of vision. This is research to use the tongue to make up for loss of vision or hearing or other senses.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to denigrate the research of Michel Richardson here, but I will say gross. When you tell me, hey, maybe you can't see something, maybe you can't feel something with your hands, you should lick it instead. That to me says no, Jeff. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that for a number of reasons.
Just lick it.
I don't want to lick things to identify them. I am neither baby nor dog. I am smarter than every baby and every dog. And I know that is how you get icky mouth. And that's how you get the sickness.
Yeah.
So Mike Richardson, I want to have him stripped of all of his accolades and his qualifications immediately because I refuse to lick whatever weird shit it is that he wants me to lick.
Well, okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
And I guess I should have headed that one off at the pass because that's not what Mr. Richardson is suggesting. He doesn't want you to just lick any old thing. No, he's come up with actually, he didn't come up with this. This is a device that has been around since 1998. It's called Brain
Hit Clips. It's not Hit Clips.
No, it's not.
It's not 30 seconds of your favorite songs.
No, pop-up video. No, it's not any of that. It's called Brainport. And it is fascinating. It's a device that looks a lot like a lollipop. It has a sensor on, or not a sensor. It has a feedback device that like the head of a lollipop and a stick, and you put it on your tongue, and it converts the video feed from a camera into moving patterns of electrical stimulation. So basically, what happens is the resolution of this thing is 400 by 400. So it's not super high fidelity, but if you imagine a video feed at that resolution, and then you put this thing in your mouth, each pixel of the video feed, it corresponds to an electrical pulse on the head of the Brainport device. So you get this picture drawn on the surface of your tongue.
Okay.
They describe it as being the sensation of like eating Pop Rocks, like this little electrical, almost like, like a stinging sensation on your tongue, but in a very specific pattern. So let's say you put your hand in front of the camera, you get this hand image painted on the surface of your tongue.
Wait.
In electrical impulses.
So, okay, we're looking at a picture of the Brainport Vision Pro right now. And I'm seeing what you're saying. It's a woman who is holding this tiny camera, I guess, in front of her. She's got a an implant, it looks like, in the base of her skull right here that connects to this visor that goes around her head. And that is
is that an implant? I don't think that's an implant. I think that's just I think it's just a camera.
Oh, okay. So that's just the back of the camera. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is just something you place over your head. It makes contact with places around your head and sends stimulus from the camera. Now, I don't understand the painting a picture on your tongue. What does that mean?
It literally is a pixel by pixel representation of what you see. So imagine just a binary image, a monochrome image, on or off. And if you have your hand, then the pixels that are on that show your hand are the ones that are pressing down on your tongue or electrically stimulating your tongue.
Now,
so you feel the image of the hand represented on your tongue.
So if you were to draw a picture of a hand on my tongue, I would somehow, like, I would feel it and I would be like, that's a hand? How instantaneous is this?
I think, no, it doesn't go into explicitly how this feels, but my sense of it is, it is instantaneous. And my sense of it is that it's like, if you can imagine, when you eat something, or like, let's say you put a lifesaver in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
You can feel just with your tongue the shape of that lifesaver. You know that the lifesaver has the little embossed,
but that's just a circle
text.
But I couldn't read. I couldn't read that it said lifesaver though.
Well, maybe with training you could, but the point is you could feel the contours of something there. And that's the important part, is that you understand the contours of the shape that you're looking for. And for people with a visual impairment, they've already used this BrainPort thing for folks that have suffered a stroke and can't maintain their balance. It helps them maintain their balance by knowing the contours of a surface in front of them. And it was actually approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration in 2015 for aid for the visually impaired. So it actually does help people get a sense of their environment if they can't see it.
Right. So they have a vision one that has the camera like we were talking about. And then it looks like they have this balance one that looks like the camera or some sort of like IR field or something points down at your feet. And it lets you know what the surface of the ground looks like in front of your feet by transferring that to your tongue.
Yeah. They call them SSDs, sensory substitution devices. So it's basically substituting one sense for another. You can't see it, so it'll give you the sense of touch.
Now they're saying for the balance one, they say that if you train for like 20 minutes a day, twice a day for a few weeks, you begin to like feel a benefit within like a few days. Like you learn to interpret this sort of input on your tongue. I would imagine the vision one takes a little more time just to be able to suss out the total number of things you got to figure out.
Well, I'm sure you've had the experience, as I have, of walking up to a piece of braille on, an ATM or whatever, and touching it and going, oh my gosh, I don't get this.
Yeah.
Right? It takes some training, but then people who are proficient with braille can read that very, very quickly. Right. And the interesting part is that the tongue is far more sensitive than your fingertips are for the sense of touch.
Lick the ATM machine.
Not a good idea.
Okay.
Tends not to be a good idea.
All right.
But that's why people are using the tongue, is that, as proficient as we can get with our fingertips using touch to substitute for sight, the tongue is even more potentially has a higher fidelity. Here's the interesting part. Okay, so that's all stuff that has been going on for years. This is where Mr. Mike Richardson comes in with his new research. He is attempting to use this device, the BrainPort, in combination with other inputs. They call it, where's the phrase?
Posner cueing? Is that what I'm saying? No,
it's low. They call it cross-modal attention. So this is like attention, your attention, the Posner cueing is, it says basically what happens, you've experienced this, we all have, of, you feel something weird on your hand and immediately your attention goes to it and you see, oh, it was a fly that landed on my hand for a second.
Yeah.
Or you hear a weird sound and you immediately turn to it. What's happening is one sense is your attention has been captured by one sense.
Right.
And you're using a second sense to confirm what it is.
Because we're taking in so much sensory input all the time. And then our brain goes, oh no, this one seems important. And so we turn all of our focus onto that thing.
Our attention has been heightened by one sense, and we use a second or third sense to confirm what that is.
Gotcha.
So Mike Richardson's theory here is we could do the same with your tongue. We could, because what happens is your tongue can get really overstimulated very easily. And they're finding
this goes back
this
to one of those stories that you were telling me that I shouldn't tell on the show.
I probably don't want to hear how your tongue was overstimulated.
All right.
Is this another ATM licking story?
Buddy, is it ever?
Your tongue can get overstimulated. So that's the problem they're finding with this BrainPort is that, if you can use it for a little while, but once your tongue gets overstimulated, you kind of lose.
It just feels like a bunch of stuff rubbing on your tongue.
Yes, exactly.
So what they want to do, let me see if I can guess this. What they want to do is they want to make it so this implant, this device, it's not an implant. This device only sends to your tongue things that need to be immediately dealt with or are super important throughout the day.
Well, I think it's even more clever than that. They're going to use it in combination with another sense.
Oh.
So they'll use it in combination with audio cues. So it'll be like, hey, there is this audio cue that will alert you to the position of something. And then the BrainPort on your tongue will give you the exact contours of it.
Whoa.
So
incoming
it's
lifesaver.
Exactly. Incoming lifesaver.
Watch out. Incoming lifesaver.
It's probably wintergreen. Watch out.
Oh. If you spark a wintergreen lifesaver, does it screw with the device?
Oh yeah, that's in the terms of service. Do not attempt to spark a wintergreen lifesaver while using BrainPort.
Uh-huh.
You may fry your tongue interface.
Wow.
Yeah.
But honestly, it just makes me want to try it even more. Do you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It's like, don't push that button. It's like, well, now I want to push the button.
Like, don't lick the ATM.
Nobody's ever told me that, and I don't think they should. Because it's under capitalism, it's my money and it's my ATM, and I'll lick it if I want to. I invoke my rights under capitalism, the rights of American kissing. American kissing is when you kiss an ATM instead of other people.
That does sound right. Just right in the little slot where the money comes out.
French kissing is a passionate sort of kissing between two people. And American kissing is when you kiss an ATM or some articles of incorporation because you care about them more than people.
Yeah. You just suck the $20 bill right out of the slot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do with American kissing.
That's good kissing.
Good American kissing.
So I have to ask, Jeff, this combination sensory input, something like a sound or an audio cue telling you that something is happening, and then your brain feels it. Is this a practical technology? And is it more accessible, more usable than something like a retinal implant or something like that?
Well, it's a fraction of the cost of that, which is something that Richardson points out. It could be much more accessible to people because it's just much cheaper to do.
Right. And it's non-surgical.
Exactly.
It's you literally just put this thing on and wear it.
Right. And they're finding that when you use them in combination, they're experimenting. He talks a lot about how they're experimenting with what's the ratio of cues between what you feel on your tongue and what you hear, or what some other touch sense that you might get from something else. Like, this is the part that is so interesting to me, this cross-modal sensory input, where it's not just, hey, we're going to substitute eyesight for touch or eyesight for hearing or whatever. We're going to substitute eyesight for a a variety of different senses that all work in collaboration to paint the picture that your eyesight might.
So if something feels like this, sounds like this, and looks like this on my tongue, I will immediately know that's a coffee table and not the corner of a wall.
Exactly.
Because the corner of a wall sounds different and feels different.
Yes. In fact, they're using this to give visually impaired rock climbers the ability to practice their hobby, to continue to climb rocks. What they're doing, he says, we're exploring the possibility of using sound to cue where the next handhold might be, and then use feedback on the tongue to precisely locate the hold.
Now, that's fascinating to me because that's also something that rock climbers who have no sensory impairment have trouble finding. One of the things that people are constantly training and trying to do at like indoor rock climbing gyms or even out on known like rock faces is like, where's the next handhold? I don't see it. I can't feel it. I don't know where the next place to put my hand is. So it's wild to me that this device would be able to know that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's extraordinary to use it to help people who may have a disability or have an impairment that they need to overcome. I think that's phenomenal. But it also seems like it would have application as an additive sensory input.
Now, you put this in a very polite way, in probably the best possible way, because my brain was thinking, I want to do it. I want to try it. I want to do it. I want to try it. And like, that's not, and the better part of my brain was like, hey, brain, this is not for us. This is for people who need it. My brain was like, no, want to try, want to do, want to feel. Can we do this?
I mean, I think it's really cool. This notion of training other senses to work together in ways that aren't intuitive, aren't natural, aren't what we already kind of do just by growing up.
This reminds me of the story that you brought up. I think it was a couple of months back of the sixth finger that was controlled. That was controlled by a foot pedal, and it can't do as much as a regular finger, but just the added ability to have like something else that can grip that nobody else has made people start using it in new and interesting ways. The idea that all of my senses would be communicating more information to me than they normally do throughout the day, I find incredibly fascinating.
Yeah.
How do I exploit this to kiss all the ATMs?
That's right. Yeah. Because finally there could be a connection between your tongue and your ear that isn't you just putting your tongue in someone's ear.
Right. Because it would be my own ear.
Yeah.
Which I've tried. Can't do.
It's very difficult.
Very difficult. I don't know very many. Who do you think anybody can? Do you think there's somebody out there that can? No, that's incredible. That's too long.
That's insane. Even what's his name from Kiss? He probably
Gene Simmons.
Yeah. Famously long tongue.
Famously long tongue. Famously long tongues of human history. I don't think anybody's ever been able to do that. But I love this. I love the idea of, because even if you think about it, even just having little audio cues, this reminds me actually of something that we have that does seem like cross-modal attention right now, which is, okay, I'm on my Vespa or I'm in my car and I have Apple Maps telling me where to go. And I've got my watch on my wrist. And not only is Apple Maps making a little bing bong to let me know that a turn is coming up, I also feel a tap on my wrist.
Right.
And so even if I'm not paying attention to the map, I do know, a turn or an exit is coming up.
That is exactly the same principle at play. And it's just that, but with a much more sensitive organ, your tongue instead of your wrist. You know, your wrist has a very low fidelity feedback.
You're saying your tongue wrap my Apple Watch around my tongue.
Yes, that's what I've been telling you for ages.
Yeah, but you didn't give me a reason, and so it just seemed like a weird thing that you do. I was like, to what purpose? It seems like it would, honestly, it seems like over an amount of time, it would either damage you or the watch.
No, they're water sensitive or proof now. You can submerge them in your mouth.
You can submerge them in your mouth, everybody. Apple Watches, submerge them in your mouth. Trademark and copyright the Apple Corporation. I think
this is really, really cool. And the idea that he says they're using machine learning to like analyze the camera data, and specifically with rock climbing to identify the holds.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can imagine like wearing a camera, it is doing some process to identify things that you don't even have to have your attention on.
Right.
I mean, I guess this is very similar to like, navigation in your car, where I'm not paying attention to where I'm going or what streets are happening because that's being handled by the computer. And here you could even have that on a much more granular scale, like these handholds or something else in your environment.
Are you talking about Spidey sense, my guy?
I'm talking about Spidey sense.
Are we?
Danger alerted to me through my tongue. Little tiny wavy lines coming out of my head.
But out of your tongue.
That's basically what this is. But it's on my tongue.
So it's little tiny wavy lines coming out of your tongue, letting you know Green Goblin.
Tasty man does whatever he tastes he can.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If Spider-Man's spider sense was like only through his tongue and it was like, oh, there's a baseball flying at my head because of my tongue,
Yes. And I heard a little sound and my tongue went, this side, dodged it right out of the way.
Spidey sense. I like this. I like Spidey sense. Who thought that the tongue would be the window to the Spidey sense of the soul?
Yeah, unexpected. A plot twist no one saw coming.
Confucius said it. I think this is really cool. I mean, look, I'm looking at, strictly from the point of view of becoming a superhero with super senses here, which I know is not what they mean for, but follow me along this here. Right now, I'm going to say this. It's a little too noticeable. I think people would know that I had the Spidey senses on.
Well, yeah, but you don't wear them when you're Peter Parker. You know what I mean?
You have to wear them when you're Peter Parker. What if you're sitting at dinner? What if you're sitting at the coffee shop with Mary Jane, and all of a sudden, car's about to crash through. Doc Ock is throwing a car. Peter Parker's got it. Peter Parker's tongue has got to know that.
His tongue has got to know that. You're right.
He's got to taste that through the delicious pie, which we don't know it's delicious pie until Spider-Man 3 when Harry Osborn tells us it's so good. We can only imagine how good the pie is in Spider-Man 2.
You're right. I was thinking that the big, bright red and blue costume could cover up this thing, but no, you're right. It's very important that Peter have it.
With great power, Jeff. You know what I'm saying?
Car situation. Yeah.
You have to wear it. You have to wear it all the time.
In cafes being thrown at cars. The old Seinfeld.
That's the Seinfeld bit, and he was trying to warn us. Jerry Seinfeld has been trying to warn us our whole lives. Now the Vision one is definitely, it goes more into sort of the superhero vibe of it, I think.
Yeah.
Because it is a futuristic visor.
We're getting into a Cyclops situation.
We're getting into a Scott Summers situation. Look, nobody wants to be Scott Summers. He's the fucking worst. But it's at least like you could work this into your persona.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that could be your iconic visor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Scott Summers.
Yeah. It's like your cool helmet.
You design the whole costume around it.
Yes. Exactly. I do also like looking at these photos here and taking this back to what its actual use is for, which is not fighting crime. And we can discuss that with the team later. Going back to it, I am seeing like it recognizes a coffee mug, and it looks like what it's doing is not sending you an actual photo of the mug itself, but it's sending you some sort of like little icon that represents a coffee mug.
Well, it's like the outline of a coffee mug.
Right.
It's the monochrome binary on-off outline of it.
No, for sure. But if you look at, and maybe this is just because they're trying to show us an example. We're looking at a photo now, a series of photos. And in the first photo, the person is holding up the sort of the camera that relays everything back to the visor. In the second one, you can sort of see there's a web interface to this. So I guess they can look in and see sort of what the camera is sending. And it looks like there is one outline.
Isn't the camera. I think that first photo is the tongue thing, but go ahead.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the tongue thing. You put that on your tongue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the camera's on the visor.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So you put that on your tongue, camera's on the visor, camera looks down. In the second photo, we're seeing two photos. We're seeing one that says camera and the other one that says IOD or something like that. So it looks like it's, okay, I see the camera sees the outline of a coffee cup. And so then what it does is it sends you a standardized icon for coffee cup. So you don't have to guess all the time that sort of feels or looks like a coffee cup. It's always going to send you the symbol for coffee cup.
Well, that's interesting. So it is using a much more machine learning than I thought.
Yeah, because you can see in that first photo, like it's also seeing like it looks like sort of the outline of a potted plant or something or some other kitchen stuff. And so it's like, what is the object that you're trying to focus on? And I'm going to send you sort of the platonic ideal, the iconography that lets you know what you're looking at.
Right.
That's pretty cool, actually. That's a smart way to do it because then, I mean, you still have to create all this iconography of which there has to be, I can see for the rock climbing, it's going to let you know whether you have like an out holding or like one of those ones where it's like you got to put your fingers in. I don't know what they're called because I'm not one of those people, but you know what I mean? There are like a couple different kinds of grips. So I think that's kind of interesting where it could like send you simple icons that represent different kinds of grips. That's kind of fascinating, actually. And that goes back more towards the Braille thing that you were talking about.
Right. Where it's an abstraction.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah.
That's pretty dope. And then, I mean, who knows? Maybe one day you train your tongue so well, it can send you like whatever. But training with icons is a pretty cool idea.
The only way I've ever heard to train your tongue is to use the stems of cherries.
You got to use a cherry stem. You got to try to tie it in a knot. Yeah.
That's really the only, up to this
or if
point,
you can do
the only training regimen that I've ever heard of.
Well, you can do the roll. You can roll your tongue, make the taco.
Oh, yeah.
Some people can, some people can't. And then you can do the flour.
Oh, wow. Impressive.
Yeah.
I can't even approach it. I can trill, though. Brrr, I can do that. Brrr. A lot of people can't even do that.
Yeah, you can get real weird with it. That's the only tongue training that I've ever heard of.
Yeah, this is much different than that.
This is extremely different than that. And
it's almost like that is not even relevant to this.
It's weird. You know? It's weird because I have more stories about the former than the latter. But we've already discussed it. Those are not appropriate.
Right.
I think, so, I mean, here's my thing. I like this. Like you're saying, as like a cost-effective sort of instantaneous replacement for a retinal implant, which not everybody is going to be able to do either physically or monetarily because fuck capitalism. Yeah. This is a pretty good assistive device. It's a pretty fascinating idea. And I had no idea that your tongue was so high resolution.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Because if you think about all the things, if you think about feeling around inside your mouth, you kind of do paint a picture in your mind of the interior. Oh, I got a little something stuck in my teeth. There, you know exactly where it is.
But even
there's a lot of information it's conveying to you.
And you think about like the different tastes and where and how much you feel them in your tongue and like how sensitive your tongue is to that sort of thing. It says, it can send white, pink, and gray, different gray levels. So like different levels of intensity. These photos have some detail and it's kind of wild. And I think it's higher resolution than the Game Boy camera.
Yes. Right, 400 by 400? Not too shabby.
That's higher resolution than the Game Boy camera was. The Game Boy camera was 120 by 120.
Yeah.
And I can tell what the Game Boy camera is taking pictures of.
Do you want to play Tetris on your tongue? Now you can.
I actually would like to try to play Tetris on my tongue. if that was possible.
Tetris on my tongue is what I always tell the ladies that we're...
Okay, well, how is my thing inappropriate and yours is totally fine to do? That's what I want to know. I feel like that was the line more than mine was the line.
No, you're right. I hopped right over it.
Yeah.
The line. There was no problem. The part of this story that is the coolest to me is the cross-modal stuff.
Yes.
Is that it's not realizing that even with as accurate as your tongue can be, adding in like a sound cue or positional audio inputs or whatever it is, adds your brain will triangulate that stuff and give you even more information. It's super cool.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think I think this has a lot, like you're saying, I'm interested to see if this technology starts getting picked up by other scientists, people in other researchers, people in other fields. Not just like you're saying, not just as a replacement, but as an assistive device and as an enhancement device. It sounds like a lot of this cross-modal stuff makes it into a lot of our everyday life. Like I'm thinking about it, like even something like controller rumble when you're playing a video game seems like it's cross-modal, right?
Right.
Like something intense is happening in the game. I can tell because it's sending me touch as well as like the sight and sound. And I would love to see, you know, it also reminds me of like one of the earliest kind of biohacking experiments that I found on the internet, which was, I don't know if you remember this. It was somebody that they built themselves a belt, and the belt had a bunch of different packs on it. And the packs all had like cell phone motors. And basically what they did was they would put in where they were trying to go in their, what they did was they just had whichever motor was facing north was vibrating as you were turning aroround and walking.
Oh, we talked about this a long time ago.
Time ago. And the idea was it instantly gave people after even just like a day of wearing it, gave people a much better sense of direction in a city because just always knowing which way you're oriented gets rid of a lot of the guesswork that your mind has in putting together this mental map. You know, you can, like, if I think about the mental map of my neighborhood in my head, I think about where places are in relation to each other. And a lot of that has to do with if I'm coming out of the coffee shop and I'm facing this way, I know that the dry cleaners is over here and I can get to it through this. And then I also know that my dentist's office is over here and this way. But something my brain doesn't put together is my dentist's office and the dry cleaners are maybe on the same block. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because they're on different sides of the block and I approach them in different ways. But when you always have that orientation of where north is, just something gently reminding you, your brain builds a much more absolute rather than relative mental map. And so it feels like this cross-modal stuff, even in a small quantity, could be extremely cool and helpful.
Yeah, it feels like adding in a second sense for anything else. If you're thinking about, you know, going through your neighborhood, you're basically relying on sight exclusively.
Yeah.
So if you have this thing that's giving you touch feedback at the same time, it just feels like it would be even, your brain would even have so much more information to put together to create a much better picture.
Where are they located, I wonder? Wisconsin. Well,
and China.
They're in Wisconsin or Beijing. So they're not the closest to us. I was going to see what it would take. Now, much like I told you in our bonus episode that we recorded today that patrons will get, much like I told you to just walk into your son's Taekwondo school and say, let me break a board.
Yeah.
I was thinking, let me break a board. Yeah. Let me just see what it feels like to break a board. I was thinking maybe we could walk in and flash our science podcast badge and see if they would let us put one of these on our tongue. Would you rather go to Beijing or Wisconsin?
The eternal question.
Yeah. Listen, there comes a time in everybody's life where they have to decide whether they're going to move to Beijing or Fitchburg, Wisconsin.
They're literally on Fish Hatchery Road.
I mean, that's
Fish
fun.
Hatchery Road.
That's fun.
Well, I realize why they went into this particular sense, a substitution device, because they couldn't use,
can't use smell odor when you're around all the fish hatcheries.
You can't smell anything there. It all smells like fish.
It's fish all the way down. The implant is just like, if you go this way, fish. Seems like fish is getting close to you, and it's like, no.
We've been failing on this for weeks. I don't understand it. Shouldn't we? All of the odors are supposed to help with the cross-modal inputs. I don't understand
I'm smelling fish everywhere I go. It tells me I'm going to drown. This is you've made a bad helmet.
Well, You can't be the Green Goblin if you don't wear the helmet.
This is terrible. It's telling me that in no direction will I ever find Spider-Man's true identity. It's telling me it's fish all the way down. It's saying this way's fish. That way's fish. That way is my disappointment in my son. But that's innate. I don't need the helmet for that. Anyway. I would love to try this out. I know they say
I would too. I mean, I don't mean to take it from folks that actually need it, could help them in a much bigger way. But I do think these are the kinds of things that ultimately are going to be applicable to lots of kinds of people. It feels like it could be additive in a lot of really cool ways.
Yeah. I would love to know from the concerned citizens out there. We've thought of a couple examples, but if y'all have any other examples about how we're using this cross-modal stuff, it feels like there are probably 100 different ways every day where we're using it. But if you think of any, definitely let us know. You can do it on Twitter. I'm at @acarboni.
I'm at Jeff Cannata.
But a great place to do it would be on the Discord that we talked about earlier. You can do that just by heading to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns and supporting us for $1 or more a month. We'll get you access to that Discord. $3 or more a month will get you access to those bonus episodes every week. And then as you go up from there, you get other things like bonus videos, bonus things with our bonus clips with our guests, all kinds of stuff. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. I'm going to go lick something.
Don't lick the ATM.
Well, I didn't specify, but you figured me out.